Hey guys, welcome back to this daily vlog series. We are here with day number 24. That's right, we got another one on the line, and I believe it's day number 12 of WePlay Pushka League. We continue to include the qualifier stage. Just had the games wrap up, 3 best of 3s out of the way. Let's start at the beginning of the day. Bait versus Hellraisers. This, in a lot of ways, was kind of like the point where Bait needed to start turning it around. They still have 3 series to play, but this was where if they could actually beat Hellraisers, something that no one else has done so far, biggest potential turnaround opportunity, but sadly they were not able to do it in the end. It ended up being a 2-0 scoreline in the end. Hellraisers dominated the side of Bait. I can't actually say that strong enough. Game 1, Dendy tried to run an AA in the mid. They ran a Chen in the off lane. Problem was they weren't really playing around that Chen or trying to utilize the strength off the back of the laning phase. This did cause them to spiral into a death wall in which Hellraiser took complete control of the map. They had this roaming post-4 clinks that created so much space, wasted so much of Bait's time, and in the end, broke a smoke that I would say was the ultimate demoralization. And then you go into game 2, and things may have lasted a few more minutes, but they were definitely even more one-sided. In that game, Hellraisers found a great way to run an Alch in their draft. They had the Slardar to bump it up. And honestly, in the laner phase and beyond, it just felt like the Slardar and the Alchemist were unhindered and uncontested. They just got the game they wanted to. You never saw Bait able to apply the pressure. They picked these heroes like the Rubik, the Witch Doctor, the Pugna, the Magnus, but they were never able to actually take early towers to shrink the map and actually push this Alchemist into an uncomfortable position. And it just meant that Hellraisers were able to cruise on through to that swift 2-0. And honestly, someone's got to change with Bait. They had stand-ins from both Skylark and Spartan, replacing Ghostic and King Art for this best of 3, but that doesn't seem to have changed anything, although you wouldn't really expect it to straight away. But it just doesn't feel like this team has the coherency with each other, right? Like, something is going on. I don't know if it's like having a clear vocal commanding voice, maybe, or it's some sort of issue clashing with players, but like you might see these players make individually decent plays or good plays, and then when it comes to working together as a team, there's just this weird splinter. I mean, on the positive side, look at the other side. Hellraisers now up 4-0, and of course, while a former TI champion is looking like they aren't going to make it past the group stage, another former TI champion in the eyes of Phonic is looking like they might actually end up with a top spot coming out of this group stage at this rate. Hellraisers, of course, only have to play against Virtus.pro Prodigy and Team Spirit are the 2 teams that remain for them to face off. Speaking of Team Spirit, that was our second series, Fly to Moon versus Team Spirit. This one bounced back and forth. First game, Fly to Moon take it with a dominant display coming out of Iceberg off the back of Tiny, enabled, of course, by General playing that Pangolier. Great sync up, created space so the PL could take over the game. And then you saw this Monkey King that never really felt like he found his jam, he found his groove. Similar situation in the second game, though, when a Monkey King gets picked by Fly to Moon. That's the final pick in their draft. That's meant to be the gotcha moment, but it never felt like General had a game. And this is the key concern that maybe you see a lot with Fly to Moon. We talked previously about how they leverage Iceberg to distract the enemy team, allow V2 in the space to get his items. But actually, when you look and dive deeper, it's more about the way that General and Iceberg can sync up quite often. And in that game, Iceberg wasn't really able to have a game, and General was just dying casually in weird ways, actually. He was playing Batrider against a lifesteal lane. Not a lane you should maybe be playing directly. If you can't fight up against your opponent directly, what you should be doing, obviously, like most offlaners do, cutting those waves, dragging them back to your tier 1 or between tier 1 and tier 2, depending on how paranoid you are, and farming your creeps there. But he wasn't able to do that. He went for this greedy boost of travel build, and it completely backfired, blew up in his face. And really, I don't feel like General ever had presence in that game. That's the difference between game 1 and game 2. And then, in game 3, just like in game 1, Tiny comes out again. Iceberg gets his hero right at the end. It's no longer about the Ursa that we see as their 4th pick on Fly to Moon, which was inevitably going to get countered by the likes of PL. Which, hold up. PL, yeah, he can be a counter, but here's the catch. When you're actually even on gold or behind, suddenly PL doesn't feel strong enough to take on Ursa. You just slap with Fury Swipes once, you know which one is the real one. And that's what it comes down to, is who's proactively finding those fights. And for Fly to Moon, it was so easy for them to find whatever fight they goddamn wanted off the back of having this Death Prophet in the offlane that applied pressure onto the PL's lane and took his tower early. At the same time, you had Iceberg, who could just sit, chill, kill, finds a casual haste run at 6 minutes, walks top, plays fetch with one of the supports, I believe it was, and he's like, oh, neat. Goes back to his lane, continues dominating and stomping on the face of the Ember Spirit. And Ember, the moment he tries to rotate away, Tiny just drills into that tower, you know, demolishes for it so quickly. This Mask of Madness build, this hero is so quick to come online. I think we are going to see a resurgence in Tiny picking. I believe Carl made his bold prediction that some point this week, Alliance are going to pick it for Limp. I'd love to see that. I think it's actually a natural curving of what's happening with mid heroes, right? It's like you actually think about things like Death Prophet, DK, these type of heroes, you know, they can push, they're bulky, they kind of become your front line as the game goes on. Tiny just inherently is a front liner very early on, and also has the ability, similar to a Dragon Knight or a Death Prophet, to punish you if you leave your lane to commit elsewhere. He also has kill potential elsewhere himself. And the difference between those heroes and Tiny, and why he probably is the next evolution, is he's got 100% uptime. He grabs a tree, he walks around waving it, clubbing at stuff, never disappears. Whereas a Dragon Knight, you commit Elder Dragon Form, it's on cooldown. You commit Exorcism with Death Prophet, it's on cooldown. I think we are going to see a lot more Tiny, and I think it is going to be a scary ass thing to deal with. I'm going to be intrigued to see what the counter is going to be as we move forward. I think you're going to have to go hefty into the magic damage to try and counter out this hero because, you know, he gets his armor from his ultimate. He is a naturally bulky boy. How do you deal with him on the lane and beyond is a kind of concerning thing, especially when you consider that any hero that can very naturally build into an Assault Cuirass is going to be strong right now. This is definitely the strongest late game item. You know, it gives you minus armor. It gives you armor. It gives attack speed. Like, there's nothing not to love about this. When you consider the pace at which we play Dota right now in this current meta, it's just an enabling item, allows you to convert from dominating the game into dominating the base. Final series, of course, was Liquid versus OG. Now, this is where something a little bit surprising happened. Or is it surprising? Because Liquid have been on a path of improvement. Beating Secret at 2-1 yesterday, they came in, they went, TI champions, we got to improve upon our results against Secret yesterday. We're going to show the TI champs what it is all about, and they did exactly that with a 2-0 victory. They did not mess around game 1 or game 2, and they stomped all over the face of OG. Game 1, they ran this Beastmaster, Weaver, and Monkey King trio. They also utilized the Tusk, which I love to see. I feel like teams are maybe glazing over this a bit more often than I'd like to see. I think Tusk is still a very good hero, and OG just seemed to have this very, very fragile back line, or even their front line, really, I'd say was kind of fragile and very vulnerable to the likes of the Monkey King. All this physical damage, actually. If you look at the breakdown of what both teams had, OG were relying heavily on this Underlord to mitigate physical damage. But if he never becomes a factor, then Liquid, they've got this Beastmaster, the attack speed already. You've got the Monkey King, the tag team from the Tusk. You've got the Weaver. All of it is physical. They want to pummel you down the dirt. And you've got things like Ember Spirit. And you've got, you know, these squishy heroes like the AA and the Rubik. And let's not forget the Dazzle. It just seemed like a very clean, crisp game for Liquid. And then the second game, you know, you're sitting there thinking OG might have an opportunity to take this late because they draft into a Leshrac and a Terrorblade to face up against Liquid's DK, Lycan, and Puck, which, by the way, this is a Mike DK, so this is a +1 DK, and my god, did it look spooky. OG were always at this point where they just felt like they had to try and play for a late game, because Liquid were kind of relentless. You know, they had this Earth Spirit in sync with this Puck, able to actually just apply early aggression, especially onto a hero like Leshrac. I feel like Leshrac is a very hard hero to draft right now if you don't have a good save. And they did have Shadow Demon. They did have Clockwork. They did have Tusk. They had all these saves, but it just didn't matter because of the way the Liquid is able to run into you. When they've got this army coming out from the Lycan, when they've got, you know, a decent amount of stuns between the Earth Spirit rolling, you got the Dragon Tail follow-up. This Terrorblade felt like he needed more damage, which was true because actually when you look at the side of Liquid, they had ridiculous amounts of damage mitigation between the Howl from Lycan, which reduces damage from your opponents, and the DK with his Brief Fire. This Terrorblade wasn't usually able to put out as much damage as he would, even with a Tusk on his team. That really gave Liquid this ability to just like plow through their opponents, take the series 2-0, and now Liquid, they are looking like favorites. I would say, like, given recent performance, they are within the favorite group, of which I'd say it's Ninjas in Pajamas, Team Secret, and I want to say, like, Liquid and Alliance are, like, drawn right now. Because Alliance have proven themselves very capable. They are getting just as formidable, right? But the difference is that Liquid just took out Secret, and now they've taken out OG as well. Now, Alliance did take OG, but Alliance still has to play Enigma and Dip. And they did get 2-0 by Secret, but that was on April 24th. So Alliance have definitely got better. Liquid have definitely got better. I love to see this. These two teams, it's like they're contesting to see who's going to be the best. Like one of those animes where you got the best friends that want to keep on proving and being better than the other, right? And that's how it feels right now between Alliance and Team Liquid, ironically enough. But I'm intrigued to see how that's going to develop because tomorrow we will get to see more Alliance. That's going to be the final series of the day. They're going to be facing off against Ninjas in Pajamas. I will be hosting that. I am looking forward to this one. This is the moment where Alliance, if they turn up and they slay NIP, it's that kind of... That's kind of the shut up haters, shut up anyone confused or wondering why we kicked 33 of Fada. We have represented and we've proven ourselves. Because NIP are the Giants to beat right now. They've only had 3 games, sure, but they've all been victories. And they've all looked very convincing from the former Chicken Fighters. Then the second series of the day is going to be OG versus OG Seed. It's going to be a case of, is it daddy allowing his son to win at the video games? Or has the son become the master and now the dad's too old and he just needs to sit back and watch TV? We're going to get to see that one midway through that day. And opening it up, of course, is going to be Hellraisers versus Virtus.pro Prodigy. Now, Hellraisers, they already spanked that Virtus.pro daddy on the previous days when they beat VP 2-1. Now it's a case of whether the son can avenge the father here between the sides of Hellraisers and Virtus.pro Prodigy. To give my predictions, I think this series is going to be Hellraisers favored. I could see it being a 2-0. I could see a world in which Virtus.pro Prodigy takes a game, but I find it very hard to gamble against Hellraisers considering the consistent way they've been playing and how dominant they've been looking through this group stage. In the second series, OG versus OG Seed, it is looking rough. Between the two squads, they now have 7 losses and 0 wins. Something has to change here. And funnily enough, because it's the 2 OG squads, something is going to change. One of them's finally going to get points on the board. I think it's going to be OG. I think they have a good understanding of what OG Seed does. And although OG Seed is learning from the father tree here, I don't see a world in which they can take down OG right now. So I will favor 2-0 in favor of OG there. And if the final series, Alliance versus NIP. I think the boring answer I can give you is NIP is going to stomp this. And then you'd probably be right, but I'm going to do a little gamble here. Alliance 2-1. I'm going to give it to Alliance for 2-1. It's ballsy. Very ballsy. But I think between the potential of Alliance now looking at the Tiny, which we just talked about in today's series, and the way that they are getting better as the days go on, I can see a world in which they trip up Nip, who so far haven't really felt any competition. That's no offense to their opponents, but they've been steamrolling people, right? They 2-0 Nigma, they 2-0 Liquid, they 2-1 against Nip, and that was in the opening day. NIP's been getting better and better, but there's got to be a trip-up point, right? The only way you improve is by playing better opponents. Alliance, they've had their mixed results after getting 2-0 by Secret. So I would say I could see a world, and I would love to see this because I think it keeps it more interesting instead of just having one team stomp out through the entire stage. Alliance 2-1ing Nip. That's going to be my predictions anyway, though. You'll be able to catch me on the panel tomorrow. I'm going to be hosting the first series. I might be hosting the second series, but if not, I'm definitely going to be around for that third series to host Alliance versus Nip and see if my prediction comes true. Who knows? Probably not, but... what am I talking about? It's going to come true. S4 and the boys got this. I believe my boy Lim out of the mid lane, coming in strong. Give me that tiny mid. I want to see it. Let me know what you guys want to see in the comment videos. We're going to keep doing the WePlay Pushka stuff in the meantime, but when there's a break day coming up, which I think there is in a few days' time, we'll try and get some filler content, or I say filler, not filler, something alternative. Let me know what kind of content you guys want to see. If you like what you're seeing here, if you agree or disagree with the way I just broke down today's games and my predictions for tomorrow, I love to hear from you all the time. And I love the fact that you've just watched this video this long. Love you, but must leave you. It is getting late here, and I got to get prepared for tomorrow.